Welcome back, everybody. Jaysin Static with another episode of the interview series. I am Jaysin Static. You, sir, are
Vincent Sawyer.
Vincent Sawyer. We've done this before, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
You're a part of the Fight Club crew, so you know how this goes. I've got 2 questions for you. Are you ready?
Yep.
All right. What are the most effective methods for wrestlers to increase their visibility and standing in the wrestling industry?
For the standing, you got to be respectful.
Okay.
Be respectful of those who come before you. Be respectful of those currently. Not everybody gets along in this business.
Right.
But you got to be respectful no matter what.
Right. I agree.
Be visibility, show up.
Right.
You got to show up. You got to show out. You got to take every opportunity that you get and use it for your advantage.
Okay. I did an interview a couple weeks ago with a guy named Gary Jackson. The gorgeous Gary Jackson, Night Train Gary Jackson. He's been around since 1984. And he told me one thing that a young guy and even older guys in the game should do is try to find companies that run TV every weekend. And we're in the digital age, so some companies still do TV, some companies do digital stuff, but they do a weekly digital TV show through IWTV, wrestling, stuff like that. You know, there's a bunch of other ones out there. Roku does wrestling and stuff like that. Is that something that you do, that you're interested in doing or looking forward to doing in your career?
I think everybody wants to.
Okay.
Absolutely. Your goal, one of your goals should be TV.
Okay.
Because unless you have that, nobody's really seeing you.
Right.
Fans will show up, come see your matches, come support you, but unless you're getting your image out there, that's not going to get out there.
Right.
Word of mouth only does so much. Right.
You actually got to, and he also told me that he had, whenever he was running a gun and whenever he first started, he essentially had a 250-mile radius around him. And that's all the shows that he would go to in that 250-mile radius. And he told me, he wishes he would have tried to, maybe go 350, 450 and take more chances of, going to different shows outside of that radius, because then he probably could have done a lot more. So far in your time in the business, have you actually tried to do anything like that? Or have you been one of those guys that just kind of hangs out at a certain area?
Recently, it's been just staying in a certain area. Prior, a few years ago, I'd go to Tennessee, Arkansas, things like that. So expanding your range for where you do shows is great.
Yeah.
It gets you looks in different states, because people who live in Tennessee don't necessarily go to Arkansas or Illinois or Missouri or any of those areas. So yeah, getting out there and expanding your range is a great idea. It's a great thing to do.
Well, I mean, I know that you're getting back into it. We've had long talks about this, about getting back into it, getting new bookings and everything, updating your image and everything like that. And that's something that we've been working really hard on, is, updating your image, growing and everything like that, and trying to get past what you did previously to try to push you into those areas. So I actually do see you taking those steps of going out to more shows, even if you're not getting booked, just to try to make those connections. Is networking and even going to a show if you're not booked beneficial in some ways? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, right?
Yeah. It kind of helps you judge who's interested.
Right.
Making connections is important. Showing people that you're serious about this. You're not just there to mess around.
Right.
Really important.
Okay.
Yeah, getting out there and networking is one of the, if not the most important thing. Okay. When it comes to the backstage portion of it.
Yeah. And that's something that I believe wholeheartedly, networking and trying to gain knowledge of the business from a variety of people. And that's one of the reasons why we do these interviews, right? Is to try to get knowledge from people and network with people. And that expands your range, because, you go to a show, say over in Illinois, for, PWE or something like that, there might be a guy there from Ohio, and you might become real cool with him. You might be able to get a booking in Ohio. So being able to network is good, and I think that's something that a lot of guys don't really take into consideration of, actually trying to get out there and network with people to grow your base.
I agree.
Vincent Sawyer. Second question. Are you ready?
Yeah, bring it.
All right. What is an unpopular wrestling opinion you hold without revealing any names, and what logic do you have to back it up?
Ooh. Unpopular wrestling opinion. I'm gonna be honest. I feel
that's what I want.
Like there's some people who just don't put the work in. I feel like if you don't put the work in, you don't really care.
Right.
You're not going to the gym. You're not working on your image. You're kind of just buying gear from random Wish or Temu websites.
Right.
No, that's not for me. You got to get custom. You got to get music. Can't be coming out. You can't have 5 guys on your card coming out to the same song, just at different time frames.
Right.
You gotta put the work in. You gotta invest.
Yeah.
My first run in 2019, 2020, I was putting work in. I was going to the show every weekend. I was training, but I was 400 plus pounds.
Right.
And since then I've dropped down to 260.
Right. And that's good.
I took 5 years off.
Right.
To do that. That's work.
Yeah.
That's important. And I see a lot of people who don't want to do that.
Right.
And it's unfortunate. I want the best for everybody in this business.
Right. Absolutely.
I want everybody to find success in their own way.
Right.
But then I see people who are, well, I want to be on this show. I want to be on this show. I want to do this with my career. I want a contract. But they stall themselves.
How do they stall themselves?
By not really, and this kind of goes into the first question, not really going out anywhere, staying in the same general area, which is great. If that's what you want to do, fantastic. Go about doing that. Mm-hmm. But big companies don't stay around in one place.
Right.
There's companies ever expanding. PWE is currently in the Illinois, Missouri area, but talking to those guys, they want to go everywhere. They want to expand out. And that takes time, energy,
effort.
But they can do it.
Right.
They can do it. I see them doing big things. But and companies like Game Changer Wrestling.
Yeah.
They go to multiple states. They go to multiple countries. Yeah. They're doing a Japan tour.
Heck, and Game Changer started out as a small indie company.
Exactly.
And now they're traveling the world just like WWE does, just like AEW does, and a handful of other companies.
But putting the work in, that doesn't just go for wrestlers. That goes for companies. That goes for promoters. That goes for anybody.
Right.
Put the work in.
And I think that's to go back to what we said in the first section of this is, a lot of people don't put in the right amount of work for what they want to, because me, I have the 5 levels. There's 5 levels in wrestling and everything like that, and all levels are perfectly fine if that's what the level that you want to play on. But if you're one of those guys in the game who's a young guy in the game and you want to get to a level of WWE, New Japan, Game Changer Wrestling, AEW, or any of these other big companies, TNA, NWA and stuff like that, you actually have to, you can't just be the guy that wrestles on one show a month. You've got to actually travel. You've got to put time in. You got to look good. And looking good is not just being a big muscled up guy. Like, you could be a big 200-300 pound guy and still move really well, be somewhat athletic, and look good and everything like that. In that thing, like hell, take Otis for instance. Otis is a 300-pound guy, and that guy moves like a freaking cruiserweight almost. So that's the difference between of putting in the work and not putting in the work. So I think in general, that's one of the biggest things in wrestling is I think most people don't think about what level they're playing at logically. If you want to be one of those guys that gets to the higher level, You've actually got to play on a different level than what your average guys who just want to wrestle once a month would be.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, so on that, what level are you playing on, and what level do you hope to play on?
I'm playing on a level of just trying.
Okay.
I'm trying to get a name out there. I'm trying to find people who want to invest in me.
Right.
And I understand not wanting to at the moment.
Right.
You know, I was gone out of the game for 5 years.
Right.
I need to earn my way back into it.
Right.
But I'm doing that.
Right.
I'm trying.
And that's a good thing, and that's something that we've talked about a lot.
Yeah.
You know, is, you know, you might not be getting any bookings right now, but you actually are still putting in work. You're going to the shows, you're meeting up with bookers and promoters, and they're giving you options of like, you know, we don't have nothing right now, but if you keep coming, you know, we might have something in the future. And that might be one of those things where people don't actually like that type of a mindset. Mm-hmm. And because that's kind of an old school mentality almost. And a lot of new school guys don't really like that mentality. But I think it's one of those things, it's a give and take in wrestling. Like, not everybody's going to have a new school mindset of wrestling. Some guys are going to have the old school way. So you've got to be able to play in both arenas, in both of those levels, you know, and know where your place is. Like me, whenever I go to these shows, even though I've been around wrestling since 2007, I know my place when I go to a show. You know, like I don't try to pull anything on anybody of like, you know, I've been around for 17 years. I know this and I know that. And I'm like, no, man, I'll take step backs to guys who are 3-4 years in the game, but that's their company, you know, because I know they're the ones riding this company out. You know, these are the guys that are help building this up. Like, so I'm going to take a step back because, you know, that's kind of just how I am now. It's like, I don't want to step on people's toes. So it's one of those things you got to understand where you're at, whose game that you're playing in. You know, we're all businesses in this. You're a business. The companies you work for are a business. So there's got to be a give and take in those. Do you have anything to promote?
No, I don't.
Merch?
Myself.
Merch?
I've got some merch. You can check it out on Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah.
But other than that, tell me what shows you want to see me at.
Yeah.
And I'll do my best to get there.
All right, man. I appreciate you. You know how we run this out. Jaysin Static across all social media. Fight Club Wrestling Academy across all social media. Facebook, YouTube. Check us out. Last but not least, we are 138code.com. That's the website where you can get all your Jaysin Static merch, all your Fight Club merch, and even some pop culture stuff. Vincent, man, appreciate you coming in, and good luck in the future, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Sensei.